What's up guys, this is Chris, and today we're going to be talking about the top 10 underrated handguns. Now, we've done the most overrated handguns and the most overrated guns, so I figured it would only be fitting to do underrated as well, since there are so many of those, and we found a lot of hidden gems doing reviews on this channel that I kind of wanted to share with you. So today we're going to be talking about 10 handguns that I think are way better than most people think they are, or at least they're not as well known. Now, some criteria with this video is obviously I haven't tried every gun on the planet ever, so these are just going to be ones that we have thoroughly reviewed to make sure they are good for you guys. If you have any that I missed, make sure to put them in the comment section below. Before we get started with the video, I do want to mention my Patreon supporters. Thank you guys very much. It's because of you guys we have cool guns and ammo on the channel, and if you want to sign up for that, the link is always in the description below, and also in that description is a link to a local shelter in Ames, Iowa. It's the YSS. Those kids could really use your help, so please go down and donate to those kids. And then finally, I want to mention my Twitter, @HonestOutlaw_ over there at X. We do all kinds of cool stuff, deals and exclusive content, and if you guys want to see some of the guns that I have before they get up on YouTube, that's a good way to do it. My wife told me since it's Christmas Eve, maybe I should refrain from F-bombs, so we'll see what we can do. Now, in at number 10, I wanted to talk about a gun that we've mentioned a few times here on the channel, but it's going to be the Taurus G3C. The Taurus G3C is a very interesting firearm because it's super cheap. And traditionally with Taurus, you kind of get what you pay for, but I think the G Series is probably one of their best options. I like the Raging Hunter, but it's like $1,000, but the G Series is somewhere around $200 to $300, depending on where you get it. Now, it is a subcompact pistol with a 3-inch barrel, MSRP of $300, and it has a 12-round capacity with a 22-ounce overall weight. The gun generally comes with 3 magazines, which is really nice. It is a very appropriate size for a one gun fits all. You could carry this all day and be very comfortable, and then you could also use it as a home defense weapon if you needed to. Has a light rail, has a double action trigger, which is really interesting. You get double strike capability with these guns. You don't have to run the slide, and that also helps with the whole light primer strike if you ever have that happen, but more likely you're going to be using that for dry fire practice since you don't have to rack the slide and get really good with your cheap pistol, which is nice. Make sure to get some snap caps, make sure to point in the safe direction, obviously. Now, it has good texture, it has front serrations, rear serrations, and then we do have the Glock sight dovetail, which is pretty cool. So even though it comes with decent sights, it comes with better sights than a Glock, honestly, out of the factory. Blacked out rear with serrations, and then a front single dot, I think works a lot better than the stupid box that Glock comes with. So you get some points there. Very lightweight polymer frame pistol, has a safety, and comes with 3 mags. One of the downsides of it is it's really cheap, so you might get a lemon here and there, but overall, I think it's a great gun, and I think it's criminally underrated. In at number 9, a fun little pistol, but super useful. This is the WMP, a Walther pistol, kind of designed after the P99, and it is a 22 Magnum. Now, to date, this is the most reliable 22 Magnum we've had on the channel. And that's pretty impressive. 22 Magnum is a rimfire cartridge. It's cool. It's like the poor man's 5.7, and I like 22 Magnum, been shooting a long time, but it does have ignition issues in some pistols. This one also comes with a front fiber optic, a blacked out rear. It comes with serrations on the front, some cutouts, which make it look kind of cool. Comes with an optic system, and it still has a very good trigger, just like the P99, although it's a little bit different system as we have an exposed hammer in the back there. Very light recoil spring, so it would be good for arthritic hands. You can also put a light on the bottom of it as well, and it's ultra lightweight, coming in at about 27 ounces for a full-size pistol. On top of that, you get the 2 15-round magazines, so you have good capacity as well. Very low recoil, 4.5-inch barrel, and an MSRP of $500, but you can find them a lot lower than that, actually. These guns haven't really been very popular, so you can get them somewhere between $400 and $500, and I think they're an excellent buy for the money if you're into something that fires 22 Magnum. I think this is probably my choice just over the Smith & Wesson, which we reviewed this year, because this works super well, and reliability trumps everything, in my personal opinion. Number 8 is the IWI Mada Slim. One of my wife's all-time favorite guns, right? I mean, you freaking love this gun.
I do freaking love that.
This is a contender for your carry gun. You're going to be doing a versus video on this pretty soon versus your P365. This gun is a micro 9mm, kind of. It's like one of those that's kind of on the edge because it's super thin. It's only an inch thick, just like the P365, but it's got a lot longer grip on it because it has a lot more capacity. So you can get 13+1 in this bad boy, and that is a lot of capacity of 9mm for such a small package. MSRP is about $450. You can find it for about $400. Has a 3.5-inch barrel, and it only weighs 20 ounces, making it very, very small, very lightweight. But again, good capacity, good caliber, and it comes with a long grip, which is nice for guys like me, because if you're looking for a shorter barrel so it's easier to appendix carry, you're looking for a thinner gun so it's more comfortable to carry, but you still don't sacrifice capacity, and particularly you don't sacrifice draw. I like to be able to get a positive grip on the gun right away, right from the holster. It allows me to feel more comfortable when I'm drawing, and getting the gun out and getting into the fight is really, really important. So overall, I think the IWI is a great gun and kind of an in-between a larger gun and a micro 9. I think for the $400 price point, it's a reliable, durable, accurate gun. In at number 7, we have the Stealth Arms Platypus. Now, this is one of the cooler guns we've shot this year. A base price for around $1,400. Takes Glock 17 mags, which is super awesome because 2011, the takes Glock mags has been a big thing for a long time. And I think the Platypus probably did it the best. Polymer grip, aluminum frame, steel slide, makes a very light gun. The base weight is only 26 ounces for a full-size 2011. Single action, got a great trigger on it, but it takes Glock mags and it's as light as a Glock as well. Finally, the best of both worlds in my personal opinion. Very accurate, very reliable, shot super quickly. You can get it a la carte, so you can get it whatever style, color, flavors, accessories you want on the gun, so you can make it pretty much your own right out of the factory. We got to shoot Twistas, which is really cool. His buddy Tony has one, and now my wife even has one on the way. You can get whatever color you want, and I think the gun is super cool. Good serrations on it, comes with an optics mount or not, it's up to you. It's 2011, it takes Glock mags, it's reliable, it's accurate, and it's sub $1,500. What more do you want? Number 6 is yet another gun I don't have on the table, but I have had a full review of, and that is going to be the Steyr L9A2. And honestly, that's been on a bunch of my lists because most people don't even know that Steyr makes handguns. I've said that a couple times before. Yes, the people that made the AUG and Die Hard, they also make handguns. They just don't have any marketing team, apparently. But the L9 is a cool gun. It's weird. You're gonna have to get used to it. And if you're used to a classic gun like a 1911, it's gonna be really weird. It's got a good trigger, it's reliable, it's super accurate, very low recoil impulse once you get used to the very odd grip angle. You have to break it over way more even than you would expect on a Glock, but because of that, you're always in a more aggressive stance, and it seems like you can control the recoil really well. Very low bore axis as well. Very similar in specs to the Glock 17, 27 ounces, 4.5-inch barrel, 17 or 10 round magazines, MSRP is $650, and the grip is fully adjustable. Now, the only thing I don't like about the Steyrs is going to be the triangular sights that come on the gun. That being said, once you get used to them, they're super accurate. Now, the Steyr comes in 3 different sizes, although I do recommend the L9A2 just because that's the one I like. In at number 5, we have a gun I haven't talked about in a long time, the Gerson P something, but I just call it the Gerson High Power. I think it's a P35, right? Mm-hmm. Some silly made up name.
You got the gun turned around so you can't read it.
Oh yeah, it says on the other side, they're like, read it, you stupid. Now this is going to be Gerson's copy of the High Power. The patent's been up for a long time, so they're able to make these. Now this is a copy of, again, John Browning's last design, which was the High Power. The High Power in and of itself is a very underrated gun, but I think the Gerson model is even more so. The High Power was really the first Wonder 9, the double stack 9mm that kind of took over the world everywhere but the US. And it was fielded in many European countries, and it basically founded the more modern concept of what we think of handguns. The Browning action, the double stack 9mm, and then it was single action only, just like the Gerson. Also had a magazine disconnect, just like this. Some of the more modern versions of the High Power now you can get without the magazine disconnect. Not the biggest deal unless you are dry firing. Very accurate, very reliable. The recoil impulse on these is really good. Still comes with a decent look for about $500, and comes with decent grips and a couple 15-round magazines. handguns. Has a 4.8 inch barrel, only weighs 24 ounces, so it would make a really good do-it-all pistol as well. If you only have $500 and you want to do it in style, you can pick up the MC P35, and I think you're going to be good to go. We had a 1,000-round review of this, and we only had one failure, which is pretty impressive at its price point. All right, in at number 4, we are going to have the PX4 Storm. See what I did there? Now the PX4 is a really interesting gun that I think was intended to replace the Beretta M9, but you just can't replace a classic of that magnitude so easily. However, the Beretta PX4 is an awesome gun, and I think it's really underrated. I think it's a gun that most people passed over throughout history, and I don't think it gets enough love. It has a really interesting action to it. It's got a rotating barrel design, which does reduce a little bit of the recoil, and even though the gun has an interesting grip that has no texture at all, it honestly has very little recoil by comparison to modern guns that you shoot next to it, and it really is quite the marvel. I've loved the gun for a long time. I've had 2 different iterations of it. We had the regular, and then we had the extra crispy. No, I'm kidding. We had the Langdon version, which is just better trigger, more upgrades, and that is certainly worth the money. Now, it comes in 9mm, 40, or 45, but only smart people buy 9mm. Just kidding. Some people buy 45. Base price is around $6.99, although you can find it for a lot cheaper than that. They have a double single action design with a 10 or 15 round capacity. They have a 4-inch barrel and the weight of about 27 ounces. Now, the rotating barrel adds just a little bit of weight over something like a Glock 19, but what you get out of it is a much smoother shooting pistol and a more futuristic look. I think the look is one of the reasons why it's been in so many Hollywood movies. I wish it had a little bit more texture on the grip, but other than that, it's an absolutely amazing gun. Reliable, accurate, durable, good capacity, good size for a pretty much do-all pistol, and really, really underrated. Now, in at number 3, we are going to have the Haze Custom Rock Island Armory, or just the Rock Island Armory, but I prefer the Haze. The Rock Island Armory 1911s can be had for around $500, and they are reliable, durable, accurate handguns, and I think probably some of the best iterations of the 1911 at that price point. I like the Gerson too, but the Rock Island to me is a great gun. Now, if you take it and you send it to Haze Custom, you can get a gun that looks way better and operates way better than what it should for the money. So you're running about $1,100 with a gun like this, but what you get is custom 1911 performance. Now, they add some grip tape on the bottom here, texturing on the back. You have rose gold ambi controls. You have slide serrations on the front and the rear. You have an adjustable rear sight with a fiber optic front, and then you have a 3-pound trigger, which is as good as any 1911 I've ever tried. Very accurate, very reliable, as I said, because they do an action job to this to make them even more reliable than they are out of the factory, and I think they're one of the better guns most people don't know about. So if you're interested in a quality 1911, I think the Haze Custom Rock Island Armory can't be beat. That being said, if you only have a budget of $500, just get the standard Rock Island, and I think you'll be fine. In at number 2 is one of my favorite guns of all time, my boomstick, the FK Bruen PSD. Now, I love this gun, and this is a gun most people still don't know about. It is really cool in my personal opinion. So we have basically the answer to the Desert Eagle. If you think the Desert Eagle is cool, but you don't like that it doesn't work, this is your option. The FK Bruen has a 5.3-inch barrel. It is single action only, and it has a very interesting caliber and recoil system. So it runs the 7.5 FK. Now, I've seen a lot of tests on this. These things can take down elk, and you get 16 rounds in the magazine. So imagine having a round as powerful as somewhere between 357 and 44 Magnum, but you get 16 rounds of it, and you can shoot it super fast. It's because below here in the dust cover, we have a giant spring system with their unique recoil mechanism, and it really takes a lot of the bite off the round. On top of that, it's basically a mini bottleneck rifle round moving super fast. Penetrates barriers really well. We've shot this against glass, we've shot watermelons and meat with this, and it performs honestly better than almost any handgun cartridge that we've ever had. Sadly, it's expensive and very unknown, kind of like the handgun. With a price of somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000, it can be relatively pricey, but what you get out of it is a handgun that can shoot 16 rounds of a caliber that can take down an elk. So for home defense, you got that covered. Now, you can put a light on the bottom of it. The trigger's excellent, and it's accurate out to about 150 yards. Also comes with their modular optic system, so you can put pretty much whatever optic system on it that you want. Has a safety, has enlarged controls, so the magazine release and the slide release is easy to use, and the takedown's not so bad either, with sort of futuristic CZ ergonomics. Reminds me a lot of a CZ75. Overall, I think it's a very underrated firearm, and if you're looking for some semi-automatic big game hunting, it's a good way to go. All right, now there won't be any honorable mentions for this video because there were just so many to mention, and I'm sure you guys will have a bunch in the comment section below, and maybe we'll do another list of these at some point. I think you guys already know what the number one is. My number one's lately been pretty easy to call, but it is what it is. It's gonna be the CZ P07 or P09, either one. If you like the small one or if you like the big one, it's up to you. Now, the P07 was one of my first loves, and it's still one of my favorite carry guns. We have thousands of rounds for this pistol, and it's the most reliable handgun I think we've ever tested on the channel, besides maybe the Shadow 2. Super reliable due to the system that it uses, double single action, you get that second strike capability, and it also has the internal slide rails, which keeps the slide mass very, very light, and the recoil impulse very low. Front and rear serrations, comes with some cool sights, although I have replaced mine. A light rail in case you want to put a light on it, and the Magnum size trigger guard, which I'm a big fan of because I've been using this gun for winter carry for like a decade now, because no matter how big of gloves you have, you can still fit your finger in there. So I like the gun because of its reliability. I like it because of its grip. The grip fits me perfect. It's a little bit larger than a lot of the other grips on the market, but I really like it because the double single action makes it super safe for appendix carry. So a lot of the times, if you're gonna have negligent discharges, it's gonna be reholstering the handgun. You stick the handgun in your holster and it presses the trigger and it fires, and then now you are junkless. But if you put your thumb on the back of the hammer, that cannot happen, which is kind of cool. So when you reholster, you put your thumb on the back of the hammer, slide the gun into the holster, and no problems. Overall, I think that's a safe system for carry, and honestly, the double action makes a really good gun for dry fire practice anyway, and since I dry fire practice so much, that also makes sense for me. But the recoil impulse being low and the reliability being ultra high and the shootability being great are awesome factors as well. Put that all together and add an MSRP of about like $450 these days, somewhere in there. I mean, you can find them for under $400 if you look. I think it's probably the most underrated pistol on the market today. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please support your Oklahoma shelters, and remember to recycle. I'll check you later. Sounds like WMD. Sounds like we should go to Iraq and look for this mother. But oh, I already swore.
I found my have to cut out.
Anyway.